What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. The World Series is finally over. Hey, once the Dodgers lost, just get this thing over with. It's over, which means free agency is here, you guys. The future, we are turning the page on 2023, looking ahead to 2024. Dodgers have money to spend. They have holes all over the place. Matthew Moreno, Scott Geirman joining me today, guys. Matt, I'll start with you. How are we feeling? Free agency is upon us. We get to think about next year.
Yeah, this is always kind of an interesting time. As much as the World Series ending means looking ahead to a new season. There, at least the first few days, because there's kind of the quiet period, if you will, where free agency has technically started, but you're only supposed to negotiate with your own team for this first little window here. There's certainly no tampering, just like in the NBA. There's never any tampering. Those free agency contracts just get done at lightning speed. Baseball isn't necessarily the same sort of process. So I think we'll see a little bit more activity probably like a week from now. But, it is always kind of fun to look ahead, especially like you said, if you're the Dodgers and you fell short this year, look to putting the pieces, maybe some better pieces back on the team and getting over the hump.
Scott, as we sit here today, they've got 5 days to extend some team options, qualifying offers. We'll get to those. But basically, the Dodgers have 6 guys on their roster right now. Yep. That's Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Chris Taylor, Miguel Rojas, Tony Gonsolin, and Austin Barnes. Those are the only 6 players officially under contract. There's arbitration and pre-arbitration, all that kind of thing. But these are the only 6 guys under contract, which I think Scott speaks to just what kind of a blank slate Andrew Friedman and his team have to work with.
Yeah, no, it makes for an exciting offseason because they've got money to spend. And for the Dodgers and where we would like them to be, that we need them to spend some money. They need to, buff this roster up, fill in the holes there, stuff that they didn't do this past year, and kind of make amends for abstaining from signing any big name over the last few years, not named Freddie Freeman, who fell into their laps. But I'm excited. So let's see what they've got. Let's let Friedman cook, and hopefully he does.
Yeah. Hopefully Stan Kasten and Mark Walter stay out of his way, right?
Yes.
Let's get into the free agents. These are the guys that the Dodgers have who are officially free agents. Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urías, Jason Heyward, Kiké Hernández, JD Martinez, Amed Rosario, David Peralta, Kolten Wong, Shelby Miller, Jimmy Nelson, Jake Marisnick, Tyson Miller, Zach Birdie, Wander Suero. I know you were all waiting for the Wander Suero. We didn't forget about him. Robbie Erlin and Matt Andriese. Those are the players who are free agents. Of course, Clayton Kershaw, JD Martinez, and Julio Urías, who none of us are expecting to be back with the Dodgers, but those are the biggest names that will be coming off of the books as free agents. Doesn't mean that those guys are definitely gone. But Matt, when you look at this list, and we're going to get to guys who are club options who could become free agents here in just a moment, is there a name that is the most interesting to you? Not the best, but maybe just the most interesting.
I mean, it might be the easy pick, but I'm going to go with Kershaw just because I feel like this offseason, more so than the last couple, I think retirement is definitely at play. And whereas the last couple of years, I didn't necessarily think he was ready. I think now, as much as he got through this season without any back trouble, his shoulder obviously is a significant issue that Kershaw and the Dodgers still, and it's fine, it's their right, but they have not disclosed any details about. And so it leads me to believe that it is pretty serious, and certainly much more than the, I think, shoulder inflammation that they were calling it throughout the year. And Kershaw himself, when we were part of the interview after the Dodgers were swept in Arizona, and he was asked, is this offseason going to be a little bit different for you? He said yes. And then he sort of caught himself and said, but I don't know what exactly that means. I'm not sure how to answer that. So for me, that's kind of the most interesting one, just because he's been a fixture, obviously, the Dodgers franchise since he was drafted. And so to kind of see, I'm expecting him to retire. But that's, I guess time will tell. He has also said that he's going to take a little bit longer to decide than he has in other times. And so we may not have an answer for a while.
Yeah, last year we would have had to wait. We waited a month. He said this year will be longer. So we'll see. Scott, outside of Kershaw, again, some other big names on there. I know you're a JD Martinez guy. Is JD the guy that stands out to you? Is there another name that's most interesting?
So There's a few that would spell like certain doom for what their offseason plan would be. If they're really, highly considering JD for a, DH role, that means they're out on Ohtani. I would essentially say. Also, Lance Lynn. I know a lot of people don't want to hear about that, but if they're highly considering picking up that option, and I know I saw a report that like the Dodgers will wait to see what they do with Clayton Kershaw to figure out what they're going to do with Lance Lynn. That's all red flag to me. At that price point for Lance Lynn, I think it's you said 18 million?
18 million.
18 million. That's something I'd like to steer clear of. I'd make a sharp left, drive off a cliff, forget about it. I don't need it. We can find a guy to eat innings elsewhere. Just pay Ryan Yarbrough and that's it.
He's an arbitration guy, so you don't even have to pay Yarbrough.
Very slight upgrade too.
The name to me that's most interesting is Jason Heyward. I'm fascinated to see what they do because we know he was a clubhouse guy. He was a leader. He was a culture setter, which apparently I've been told was their problem, that it was the leadership and the culture. And Heyward was one of those guys. So he was signed on a minor league deal. Wink, wink. Hey, it's going to be a major league deal. They just wanted to preserve the 40-man roster spot during spring training. He played really, really well, albeit in a platoon role. I would be surprised if he isn't back. I'm just curious what the number looks like. There was no market for him last year. We know he's made tons of money in his career, and he used to be a great player. He's not crazy old either. So he's the name to watch. But Scott, you mentioned kind of the team option candidates. There are a bunch of those as well. Lance Lynn, $18 million team option. The Dodgers have 5 days to decide on whether or not they want to pick that up. Max Muncy, $14 million club option. Joe Kelly, $9.5 million club option. Blake Treinen, $7 million club option. Daniel Hudson, not to be confused with Brian Hudson, $6.5 million club option. And then Alex Reyes, a $3 million club option. We're going to do rapid fire on this one. And we'll start in order of the biggest number on here. Scott, you've answered this one already. Lance Lynn, $18 million. It's a no for you.
Big
Matt,
no.
Yes or no for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how they would do something like that. Even if you want Lance Lynn back, like you could get him at a lower cost, I would imagine.
That's my thought. Like, I'm not saying a 0% chance Lynn is back. I would be shocked if it's an $18 million bring back. Max Muncy, the next biggest number. Matt, I'll start with you. $14 million club option for Max Muncy. Is there any chance this doesn't get picked up?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty much a lock.
Scott?
Oh, 0% chance they decline that. It's he's for what Max Muncy brings. Absolutely. They'll pick that up.
Crazy value for Muncy. Yeah. And we've talked, like, none of us are guaranteeing that he will be on the Dodgers roster next year, but we are guaranteeing they pick up that club option because if they don't want him, pick it up and trade him and get something for him. That's an incredibly valuable 1-year contract for a guy that continues to produce, even if you don't love the batting average number there. Joe Kelly, $9.5 million club option. That's a big number. He pitched well, though, Scott. Do you think the Dodgers pick up a 1-year, $9.5 million deal for Joe Kelly?
It's definitely an interesting number for, Joe Kelly. That it's a lot, but I would say, I would hope. I'm not going to say they're going to turn that. They're going to decline that, but my hope is that they would figure out a way to work, a 1 or 2 year deal out after that. I would say like probably have to be a multi-year contract to get them to, go from there. But I would say they decline that. Unfortunately, I love you, Joe, but $9.5 million that they're going to decline that.
I'm with Scott. He signed a 2-year, $17 million deal with the White Sox 2 years ago and was pretty bad for them. A 6 ERA in 2022 and then a 4.12 ERA combined last year. So again, similar to Lynn, I'm not saying, well, there's no similarity really with Lynn other than I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Kelly was back, but I would be surprised, Matt, if they picked up that $9.5 million club option. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I'll be the guy that zags on this topic. I think they pick it up. I think from the main standpoint is I'm not sure if they'd want to commit to 2 years to Joe Kelly just because there've been some injury issues, and so maybe they just figure we'll bite the bullet. And I don't want to say run a risk because Kelly did have moments where he pitched well for the Dodgers, and so just do the 1 year, pay a little bit of a premium, and hey, it's not my money anyway, so I can spend it.
There you go. Okay, next one up here is Blake Treinen. We know what Blake Treinen could potentially be when he is healthy. This is a club option for $7 million. He made 5 appearances through 5 innings in 2022 and made 0 appearances in 2023. When he's healthy, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. 1.99 ERA back in 2021, 5 innings last year, but 1.8 ERA for those that care. $7 million is a low number for a guy with the upside of Blake Treinen. I'll start this off. I think they pick up this club option. Obviously, we don't know the health information on Blake Treinen. We know that there was a push for him to potentially be ready in the postseason that didn't end up coming out. But if the Dodgers think that he will be ready for opening day, and that's the biggest grain of salt imaginable, if they think he will be ready, I think the Dodgers pick this up. Matt?
I think they'll decline it because my belief is I just don't think he's healthy anymore. I don't think it's the Blake Treinen that they took a little bit of a gamble on a couple years ago, where it made sense to factor in some of his injury concerns and rehab and all that. I just don't see Treinen really being capable of pitching anymore, unfortunately.
As our friend Scott would say, he's cooked. Scott, you agree? Man. You think he's cooked?
I think so. Like his ramp back up was really short. Like he looked okay in his first outing.
Wasn't the velo up? Like, wasn't he throwing 100 miles an hour?
But also, that doesn't necessarily mean all things are good. Like, it might look good on the radar gun, but operationally, structurally, he's a very, all out effort guy. So I wouldn't surprise me that it's just not there anymore.
Okay. Speaking of potentially cooked relievers, Daniel Hudson, $6.5 million club option. Scott, I'll come to you on this one first. Another guy, when healthy, one of the best, but a guy that's getting up there in age and just hasn't been healthy that much. 6.5. It's the lowest number of the 3. Do you think the Dodgers pick this one up?
I would hope they pick that up. I really would. Like he's a guy that the Dodgers really could have used. That's not that high of a number. He's able to slot back in at the back end, but if he's able to pitch, that's a very valuable piece. It's just, can his knees hold up? Can his body hold up? And $6.5 million. I know the difference between him and Blake Treinen. You're going to see those figures, but we're talking about, some guy who hasn't pitched since, 2021 regularly, but I would say Daniel Hudson. I think they pick that up.
Hudson, 3 innings pitched this past season. He will be 37, Matt, by the time that next year begins. He turns 37 in March. $6.5 million. Is that a yes or a no for you?
It's a no, and again, it's based on health. I just don't know if Hudson's capable of pitching, and I don't know. I mean, I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. If the Dodgers could, talk to him and say, hey, we'll pick this up, and Hudson could say, fine, like, I'm going to spend the offseason kind of training, and if it doesn't work out, I retire, and then, hey, like, it's a wash. But I think maybe they just decline it, take the pressure off of him, let him see what he could do this winter. If it looks like he could pitch, I think he'd be interested in coming back, and I think the Dodgers would welcome him back. Yeah, but probably maybe at a lower base salary with maybe incentives to get him back close to the $6.5 million that he would have earned.
The hard part here for the Dodgers is having to make this decision in the next 5 days. I think the benefit they have is they have good relationships. They've done well by both Treinen and Hudson. So I do think there's a world where they let them go. They let him rehab and recover throughout the offseason, knowing that if a real offer ever materialized, the Dodgers would probably have the opportunity to match it or at least come close to it, because I'm sure these guys would prefer to be in Los Angeles based on their experience. So we'll see. I'm a yes on Hudson as well. So $13.5 million to cooked relievers coming out of Jeff Spiegel's paycheck is the prediction there. Last one, speaking of potentially cooked relievers, there's a theme here. Alex Reyes, $3 million club option. This is a guy that, again, tell me if you've heard this before, did not pitch last season. The Dodgers were hopeful that he would be able to contribute, but that was not the case. Did not pitch in 2022, did not pitch in 2023, 72 innings back in 2021, 3.24 ERA. The last pitch he threw was the Chris Taylor walk-off home run in the wild card game back in 2021. $3 million team option, Matt, yes or no?
This one I think is a yes. I think when the Dodgers signed him originally, they knew the odds of him pitching this year were basically non-existent, and it was very much a play for 2024. It's the Tommy Kahnle deal.
Yeah, there you go. Scott, you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something that they knew going in. That's a long-term play. If they expected immediate returns, they just had no clue. But they knew exactly what they were doing here. I'm with Matt.
I'm now that I want to say yes, and yet picking up Treinen, Hudson, and Reyes seems like an absolutely insane way to construct a roster.
Buddy.
I'm going to change. I'm going to say they choose between Treinen and Hudson, and they pick up Reyes, because I'm with you. I think Reyes is, aside from Muncy, maybe the safest bet of this group to get picked up, just because of they've already invested in that's a low number, and if it doesn't work out, they could cut him and not think twice about it. So there you go. Let us know what you all think in the comments below. Again, free agency officially started. The Dodgers have 5 days to make qualifying offer decisions. JD Martinez, this is the one we were going to talk about this. Qualifying offer, JD Martinez, probably the only guy they would consider. $20.5 million. It is a hard pass for me, based on what Scott said, that it would take them out of the Ohtani sweepstakes. That's just way too much money to spend on a guy who's a DH. So I see the Dodgers extending no qualifying offers. Matt, quickly, agree or disagree?
I guess so. I guess I agree. I think there's a little thought for JD, but probably not.
Scott?
There he is. I like that. Matt's, hitching his wagon there. JD Ma. Yeah, I'm gonna maintain they're saying no, because I just all in on Shelby.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, check us out, DodgerBlue.com. Again, the podcast version of this, Apple, Spotify, Google. We have content coming throughout the offseason every Sunday night at 7:10 p.m. We are live, interacting with comments, questions, all that kind of stuff. So enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And of course, as always, go Dodgers.